Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this premiere episode of the Higher Ed Geek podcast. I'm very excited to get this launched with a special episode talking with my good friend and colleague, Tom Krieglstein. I've worked with him for years as part of both SwiftKick and the Student Affairs Collective, writing and podcasting and interning with them. But, I've since moved on, unfortunately, but on to some greater things here that I'm really really excited to get going with this podcast. And so I was able to catch up with Tom recently to get an update on what's going on with his life and what he's thinking about, what he's geeking out about. So really appreciate his time here. But really quick, some housekeeping here in the first episode. So we'll be coming out with new episodes weekly starting today, and then going through until the winter holidays, where we will be taking a short break and then coming back strong in the new year. So always include show notes for each episode with everything that we mention and talk about on my blog, higheredgeek.com. And you can also subscribe, listen, and rate on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play Music, whatever your preference is there. Just any support you can give through ratings and reviews, just sharing out the show does really help us out and just getting the show out to more people. So more people can benefit from the great conversations that we're having here. So I think that is everything for now. So without further ado, and after this quick message from our sponsor, this is episode number 1 with Tom Krieglstein. It's an honor to have our good friends at SwiftKick be a sponsor of the podcast, because I've seen their work firsthand, and it's truly unlike any student leadership training I've experienced. They've been voted Best Student Leadership Program unprecedented 5 times, so you know they must be doing something right. As a bonus for our listeners, SwiftKick is giving a $500 discount off their normal speaking fee if you mention Higher Ed Geek when you contact them. I highly recommend their trainings for your campus, as your students will be talking about it for months afterwards. It's really great stuff. Check them out, swiftkickhq.com, to learn more, and let them know I sent you. Now, back to the show. But yeah, I feel like with it, like that time since we last recorded, at least with SwiftKick, and I feel like, maybe for simplicity's sake, and I know we've talked a lot about your journey throughout like all the other episodes that we've recorded and stuff like that, and like stuff that you've written. So I guess just for simplicity's sake, and I know there's a lot that's happened within the last year with like SwiftKick, if you want to start out with just sort of that journey for you of like, developing that and like the recent developments and stuff, and just kind of giving that introduction, just in case anybody who overlaps with all this, like doesn't really know who you are. But I think that's kind of the main thrust of, something that's been a throughway for you for, a long time. So I'm curious, just kind of that journey and like decision points and sort of the recent developments with SwiftKick.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here and to connect with you again as a former co-host of the Student Affairs Spectacular podcast.
Reunion, yeah.
It's like a reunion, but you're on your own now with your own podcast, so that's cool, and it's exciting to see it taking off. So for everyone who doesn't know who I am Tom Krieglstein, the founder of the Student Affairs Collective, as well as SwiftKick. The journey for me started when I graduated high school with a C average, and then stumbled into student activities in college, and it totally changed my life, academically, professionally, socially, and I ended up getting almost straight A's through college. I got 1 B, but with valedictorian at my 2-year and then my 4-year. And so much of my growth was attributed to the co-curricular space on campus and getting involved, and it just totally changed my life. And throughout that process, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and figure out and build something that was bigger than myself, that gave positive value to the world and lasted long after I was gone. And so I was always searching around for like, what is that going to be? What is it going to be? And towards the end of my college career, a speaker came to my campus, and I saw him speak on he was talking about passion and purpose. But I saw him speak, and I go, holy crap, like I love what you do. I want to do that. I want to be a professional speaker. And then around the same time, I won this academic award as a national academic award, All USA Academic First Team member, given to only 20 people. and they asked me to go speak at some schools in the area, and one of them said I was pretty good at it and gave me a stipend of like $50 or something. So I was starting to piece together this idea of like, wait a second, I can build a business out of something I have
Mm.
skill in and a passion of student affairs co-curricular. And so that was my launch right after college, was into this idea of becoming a professional speaker. I failed miserably for the first couple of years, which is a whole other story. And then went and got trained for 3 years as a lead facilitator for Quantum Learning Network, and then relaunched Swift Kick, and that was maybe in 2005, six, somewhere around there, and I've been going ever since. And so then to fast forward to current, we launched the Student Affairs Collective, I think maybe 8, 9 years ago, as a way for student affairs professionals to get together. There was not really much online at the time, and it grew to be one of the largest online communities of student affairs professionals. And we had a podcast, newsletter, books. People were blogging on a regular basis. Like, there's a lot going on with it, and it almost got to the point where it was too much for us to handle internally at Swift Kick and with the volunteer team we had in the Student Affairs Collective. And so I started chatting with various organizations around the idea of someone taking it from us. And through a lot of conversations and twists and turns, the NASPA, National Association of Student Affairs Professionals, was very interested in it as a part of their overall umbrella. And for me, they felt like such a natural fit for someone who had the resources and had the knowledge to be able to take Student Affairs Collective to another level. And so starting at the beginning part of this year, and I guess sometime around Q2 of this year, we made it official that the NASPA took over officially from us the leadership and ownership of the Student Affairs Collective. And so once again, I'm back fully focused on Swift Kick, which is we do leadership and team development programs at colleges and corporations all around the world. And I live in New York City, and I love peanut butter, and I was named after a
Yeah.
cat. There you go.
That's everything. Yeah, I think it's like all the fun facts and everything. Um, well, I think I like how you framed it of like that. You know, a long time ago, you just had that epiphany of the sort of alignment of your strengths and something that you're enthusiastic about, which is exactly kind of what I want to strive to highlight and showcase on this podcast, is just like the things that people geek out about and like how they positively contribute to their life, and just encouraging people to find that thing where it overlaps, because I think if it's too much one way or the other, it could not be satisfying to somebody. If it's like, for me, I always say it's like, well, I'm really passionate about video games, but I feel like I have no strengths there, and it'd be really hard for me to like get my foot in there and like be successful there. And Yeah, it's just interesting that you found that. I know you always say like, an overnight success, several years in the making sort of thing. Cause like people will just sort of be like, oh, you're so great. Like, like I've not heard of you or, no, like you come to their campus and they just, are really impressed and stuff. And I think,
Well, a little bit. I don't want to fully claim that I knew what I was doing right when I was 20, 21, 22. And in fact, and I think it's constantly evolving. Even to this day, it's still evolving. And I think that that's okay. What hasn't changed is my desire to build something on my own that's bigger than myself, that leaves a positive impact on the world. That hasn't changed, but what that is evolved. I've tried software tools, I built an online community, doing speaking. And so when students or younger people come to me and they ask me like, I don't know what to do with my life, first thing I say is calm down. It's okay. But at the same time, we can't take tomorrow for granted. Or let me phrase, I don't take tomorrow. I don't take tomorrow for granted, because no one's promised me tomorrow. And so I do make sure each moment of every day I'm appreciating it or valuing it somehow, some way. And then, so on that note, when I have a quick activity for anyone who is out there that's trying to like understand what to do, is you take a piece of paper and draw 4 circles. And in one circle, write down all the things that you have spent a lot of time working on. So like if you were in choir for many, many years, just write that in there. Or you spend a ton of time playing video games, write that in there. Or you read a ton, put all that stuff in there. And then in the next box, put all the things that you grew up around. So were your parents dentists, or were they performers, or were they teachers, whatever it is. And then in the third box, put all the things that you have skill at, things that you actually like think you're pretty good at. So I may spend a lot of time at something, but maybe I'm not actually good at that. But there are some things you might have skill at that maybe you don't even spend a lot of time at. And then, like for example, one for me is running. I didn't know I was as good as I am at running, but ever since running, picking up running, people comment on how fast my times are. So that's great. And then the last one is the fourth box. Put in all the things that people say you're good at. So your friends and family, listen to what they say, and if they tell you, oh, you're always such a upbeat, positive person, or you're always great with kids, write that stuff in there. Then look at those four boxes and see where there might be some overlapping words or themes. And oftentimes, when people do that activity, somewhere in there is their journey and their path.
Yeah. Yeah, because that could be like a really good activity where like just kind of very focused, like purposeful, dedicated, like thinking and kind of examining yourself. And I like what you said, yeah, because I think it's an important distinction of that. You didn't know the form that it took, but it was like a values driven sort of thing that, like you said, you want to make a positive impact on the world, but it's like how I do that has changed over time. So I think because that's where people can get stuck up if it's like one job at one place, which is like the only way that they're ever going to feel like they're important or anything. It's like, well, just be open to like whatever is your driver in terms of your values or something like that might be, a better way to think about it. But so yeah, I guess I know you mentioned like peanut butter as being like a thing that you love, and I think there's a lot of else that you I know that you're into, but I guess what would you consider things that you geek out about, and like are there things that you've discovered more recently or things that you've always been into?
Yeah, so peanut butter is one of those things I certainly geek out about, and it's a strange one, but it's also I've sort of become known as the peanut butter guy in some circles. And I actually like this because when people send me gifts, they tend to send me peanut
Yeah.
butter. And why I also like that is I'm generally live a minimalist lifestyle, so I don't want a lot of stuff. And peanut butter is edible, so when I'm done with it, it's done, it's over, it's gone. So I appreciate the time I had it. So I kind of like that versus if I said, oh, I'm geeking out about turtles or I'm known as a turtle guy, then people send me every possible turtle figurine, t-shirt, whatever it is. I'm actually happy to do that. I thought about launching a New York City Peanut Butter Festival recently, but I'm pulling away from that idea to stay focused on Swift Kick and really double down in the work we're doing here. Those are big ones. Other things I'm geeking out about right now is all my electronics are failing me right now, so I need to find new electronics. So geeking out in terms of trying to find how to value this the best, or find the best value to buy new stuff. And let me add to that. So I'm also geeking out about a couple apps that I want to share with the group. One is called Get Service, and it links up to my email and tracks all of my flights. And anytime a flight is delayed or late, they then notice that and they'll send a letter to the airline on my behalf to try and get some money back from me or for me for quote unquote hardship. And surprisingly, I've done it in this year. They've gotten me already this year $900 worth of stuff back. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah. Because and like you fly so often. Because I think sometimes if it was like, oh, I fly a couple of times a year, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you could get something back, those few flights are delayed. But then just like the statistics of it, it's like, well, I fly a lot. There's probably gonna be a lot of delays, and it's worthwhile to like, because if it like took, I don't know if it took a lot of setup or anything. I mean, a lot of those like bots are pretty simple.
Well, actually,
anyway,
also it's free until you win something.
So yeah, like it pays for itself.
Until they get you something, and then they'll pay you for it, or they'll charge for it. But that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. Because there's it's like a Facebook Messenger bot that's similar to that called Trim that like they're kind of main thing that they market around is for like your cell phone and like internet, TV bills. They'll do that similar sort of thing. So it's really cool to see, like, because yeah, flights would be like a huge one. So that's a good recommendation. And it's interesting, like what you were saying with like how peanut butter being a thing that you geek out about is like how that's like positively contributed to your life. Just because yeah, that's one of my things that like yeah, I feel like I need to like cultivate something like that, or like do something else in terms of like with like holidays and gifts and stuff. Because yeah, I'm always very conscious where it's like I would love to have that. I don't have anywhere to put it, and I don't want to have like a lot of clutter. So yeah, that's good stuff.
Whether it's my place here in New York City, I've gutted so much stuff. I've taken so much stuff out so that I have a minimalist amount. I've reduced my wardrobe so it's as few as possible. I'm trying to figure out how I can wear the same 5 outfits, or at least have clothes that I don't have to think at all. And if I have a shirt and pants, they're gonna match no matter what. And so that's all part of this, just like this concept of streamlining decisions in my life so that I don't waste the willpower or the effort on things that are sort of frivolous to me throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting to that point as well, where just yeah, just like with clothes and stuff, yeah, because it's one of those things where you can just be like, I don't know what I want to wear. So if it's like, again, yeah, you kind of put attention and energy there to really think through it and examine it. It could be beneficial, because I feel like food too. I feel like I want to like just have all of my food through like stuff like Blue Apron and Graze for like the snacks and stuff, like where it's just like they just give me meals and it's like, well, this is what I have to make it, like instead of just like, what do I want for dinner today, and just sort of like meander to something.
Even meals, and this is probably another thing that's my weirdest habit, is I do Soylent, which is a powdered meal, and my rule is if I'm not eating with someone else, I just have Soylent. and it fills me up. It's super cheap. It gives me all my nutrients. I feel great throughout the day when I'm drinking it, and I have been doing it now for almost 2 years, and it works. It works so well for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really intriguing.
I'll say it's socially weird, so that's why if someone if I'm going out to eat with someone or eating with someone, I'll make sure I chew my food.
Right, yeah, just like only drinking. So that's probably like, I don't know if they like are explicit about that, of just like yes, it's beneficial as this is, like you can eat other stuff. You just only like you don't only have to have like Soylent or whatever.
They want you to eat it.
Well, right, yeah. I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've kind of answered how those things like positively contributed to your life, and I guess I know you are a pretty avid reader and like listen to like different podcasts and different things like that. So like if it's just one or all of them of like things that you're reading, watching, listening to, anything.
HBO has a series called The Defiant Ones. It's about the rise of Dr. Dre and Larry. What's how you pronounce this? Larry Ileson. Let me see if I can get that correct. Larry Ileson. Larry L. Let's just call him Larry L. And how they ended up building Death Row Records into Def Jam, basically their journey. And it's fascinating and crazy motivational. So I've now watched it twice, and I'll probably watch it again. Another one is Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's really just fascinating to watch that. I've also attended a Tony Robbins seminar this last summer, and that was just so eye-opening to see someone at his level of the game deliver a program. So that's on my list of like worthwhile checking out and spending the money to go to. In terms of podcasts, I have a couple here, specifically one that has been, and now granted, these are very much in my sort of world of what I'm interested in. And so how I built this, it's an NPR app, and they basically follow the journey of founders of large, well-known brands and companies, and they just talk through their journey. Love it. In love with it. Can't get enough of it. I feel like I just wanted to keep producing stuff. I have another app that I want to suggest it's been life changing for me. It's a financial app that's been really big. It's called, well, so how it started is first I read Tony Robbins' Money Game, or his newer version is Unshakable. Unshakable is about a third the size of Money, which is a massive book, but both are
Hmm.
great and just helped me to really understand the concept of financial investing in how I'm financially investing my money. So then there's another company called Wise Banyan, Wisebanyan, that basically does every single thing that's smart from a financial investment and savings for retirement setup, and it's totally free. So uh, I've moved tons of my money over to it and am using that. And I just like anyone can start with, I think, $1 and you can get going. And so those young people out there, start early. Because compounding interest is the wonder of the world.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what's really cool is that like I mean even just with those like the bots that like get you discounts or refunds and all that kind of stuff like there's so much great stuff out there in like financial technology now with like apps and everything to where like yeah like that stuff's so important and I think to some people it's like this like big hairy like to-do list monster item thing that they don't even want to think about and it's just like too future oriented for a lot of people to even take seriously but if you can kind of serve it up in a
Yeah,
free or low cost app that
super
is like
super easy. Yeah, super easy and does everything right from tax benefits and uh, portfolio rebalancing, which is a big one that most people wouldn't think about, and then doing low cost index funds. Those are I can geek out for a while in finances.
yeah and I think that's something yeah because even for me like just a little bit now like working in a very different environment um like just being more cognizant of financial stuff because I think being kind of entry level at a higher ed institution, it wasn't really there as much. And I think now it's like I'm sure, yeah, because that's your world where you have to kind of run your business, and it's something in that vein that you just have to know about and all that. But then yeah, like people and human beings in their lives should
Yeah.
have the tools and be equipped with the knowledge and support for doing that stuff. Because yeah, so I feel like yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of those sort of tools and stuff, which is cool. Um, but yeah, and I feel like just with these kind of first episodes that we've been recording and stuff, like a lot of people have recommended the How I Built This, which I've known of, and it just is like, okay, I guess I need to go check it out because it's even that's the thing with like my diet of podcasts is that like I think some people it's like, oh, like this new show, I got it. It's like, but yeah, you just can like pick and choose. Like you said, it's like if I like a company, I could just scroll through their whole library and be like, oh, I want to listen to that one because I am a patron of theirs and I would love to hear their story or whatever.
And the trick, unfortunately, there's so many podcasts, so I try and limit what I'm doing or which ones I'm listening to. But this one's my typically when I open up my podcast, this one's one I will go to pretty quickly.
Yeah. When I think you, because I was just talking to somebody else about podcasts and I kind of enlightened them to this, is that because I think it was you who turned me on to listening to podcasts at 1.5 speed. So like I've been doing that I've been doing that because it's just like I'll have like a lunch break. I want to listen to like a longer podcast and just like get through it because I guess it's like sometimes it's just slower moving and I can still kind of get the point. Any faster than that, I can't even like I can't even understand it. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
just picks up the pace a little bit, and I can still get all the goodness from it. Yeah, I guess just to sort of wrap things up here, just generally with SwiftKick and the things that you're doing now that you're able to kind of focus on it more solely, just if it's again one of each or just a single thing like with the work that you're doing, just stuff that you're looking forward to in your job and life or just in the world in general.
I would just like to wake up without a crisis. That would be, I
Yes.
think that would be, I would enjoy that in the world. Is that too much to ask for? Probably not. So SwiftKick, specifically from the business side, we're doing we're writing a new book and for the college market and the college world, and it's based around the 4 Ps of organizational leadership. So it's specifically meant for a book for club org and leaders and how they can run their organizations more effectively, based around the 4 Ps. And the 4 Ps are prepare, promote, perform, and pass the torch. And we're going to work on that, and we're building out a lot of curriculum around that so that any new leader who's entering into an organization, it's their first time, we can hand them this book and say, great, this plus your advisor, plus additional trainings that your school may offer to you are what are really going to help you excel and make this an amazing organization for the year. I'm really excited about getting that done. Our goal is to have it out by summer of next year, so that we'll have it for the new school year, and there'll be a supplement to a lot of the trainings we do with club and org leaders, campus leaders. We're building out corporate programs and working with professional staff and how we can do more trainings for them. I think that's a big part of what's coming down the pipeline for us. And we're going to continue to expand the team. Eventually we'll bring on a 3rd speaker and probably hire a salesperson as well. So if you're in that world and it's something you're interested in and you've done, just always reach out to me and let me know, because you never know. That's how Sabina got her job here, is she just happened to see me speak and she reached out, and we were hiring at the time, so it worked out well.
Yeah. And I guess because that's what I think about, because I remember when Melissa joined you, and just that idea, at a certain point, I'm sure, just with, and that's, again, me just because I also support MBA students, and it's stuff that we talk about a lot, me and my students and just in general, but that idea at a certain point where it's you could keep costs down and it's just you, but it was just you for a long time. And eventually it's just we could do theoretically double the amount of, engagements if you bring somebody else on. And it's just it's interesting for me just observing I've just kind of been a fan of yours and, collaborated with you for a long time, and just seeing that happen to where when I get your when I get the newsletter for SwiftKick and just seeing all the stuff that you all have coming up, and I'm just sometimes I forget when I'm just oh my God, Tom is doing all that. I'm oh no, there's essentially 2 of him now. He can be a lot more places, in terms of just.
With that though, it's the more money, more problems concept. It changes. I know there's plenty of student affairs professionals and individuals who want to become speakers, and it's one thing to do it by yourself and you're running the show, and it's another thing to try and build a business or an organization out of it. And so that's what I'm focused on, and I really want to expand how much of an impact we can have on the world. And I think overall we're just getting started with this, and so I'm excited to keep it going.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff. And we'll have ways to connect with you and SwiftKick in the show notes for this episode, and a lot of good stuff that we also mentioned throughout the episode. But just thank you so much for hanging out. It's just always cool to just hear different things of kind of what you're into and just what's going on. And just again, I'm a fan of yours, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for being able to work with you. I guess now, geez, it's almost 4 years ago, I think, the formal relationship that we had started. So, just again, I can never thank you enough, and I appreciate you jumping on here to chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. Take care. Talk to you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Higher Ed Geek podcast.